We now return to our breaking coverage of Leak Watch 2018. Graphics will be added in post. No, they won't. Hey everyone, it's me, Aaron.
I'm Michelle.
And for anybody out there who doesn't know what the heck I was just talking about, and is also wondering, hey, why have you only been reviewing old movies this weekend, rather than the couple dozen brand new movies that came out this week? Yeah, the walls of our apartment have been leaking. Not the ceiling. If the ceiling's leaking, you can put a bucket under that to just collect all the water, and you're fine for a couple hours in there. The walls. Which means that we have to keep just cleaning down the walls, or else water will start accumulating on the floor. And some of the water has even been going past the holes that have been bursting in the walls all the way down to the floor, so it's just coming up straight from the floor. So no matter what we do, there's just puddles forming all across the apartment. And our super, despite this being day 9 of us telling him about this, still has not fixed this, or even attempted to, from what we can tell. So we just can't leave the apartment, because if we're gone for more than an hour, everything starts flooding in here.
Gee, if only Fix-It Felix were here.
Jesus, yes. He had better fix this within the next week, or else I'm gonna wreck it. I'm gonna climb up the side of this entire apartment just punching in windows. Sorry, people below us.
We're just mad and we need to take our anger out on this building. Like,
but it's screwing up our job, because our job is to review brand new movies, and we can't leave the goddamn apartment. So we have to just review old movies. Luckily this weekend there were 2 sequels that came out, so it gives us an opportunity to do a post-Geekout retrospective. The show where we go back and look at older films that have to do with a new film that's coming out. So we decided, you know what, we've never talked about Wreck-It Ralph on this channel. We did talk about it on the show that we were on before we started this channel up, but I've kept that a deep dark secret, and none of you guys know about that, so this will be...
And for a good reason.
So this will be a great opportunity for us to come in here and discuss this once and for all. I'm tired, so I'm gonna be all jumble-mouthed.
Yes, we also had to take shifts sleeping because...
That's the other part of this. A lot of you guys might be wondering, well then why don't one of you go and see the movie while the other one stays behind to clean everything up? It's because we're not allowed to sleep at the same time, otherwise the place floods. So I'm up until 8 a.m. every single morning trying to clean this thing up. Then I sleep until it becomes nighttime. I don't get to see the sun anymore. And while I'm asleep, you have to clean the place up.
Yep.
And by the time that I wake up, it's like, oh God, none of us can really go anywhere or do anywhere. Yeah. So it's been a whole big thing. So anyway, let's talk about this adorable Disney film.
Yes.
I remember loving this film when it first came out.
Yes, so did I.
I heard a lot of complaints that people had with it, but I didn't see those complaints. But seeing it the second time, I can understand the complaints a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what happens when you tend to revisit a lot of films. But I will just say the positives about this movie, I don't think we need to sum it up. Everybody kind of knows what this film is about. It's about Ralph, who is this guy in this game.
He's a bad guy in a video game.
He's Donkey Kong, basically, is what it was. It's very clear he was inspired by Donkey Kong, and Fix-It Felix was Mario. But yeah, he's in this game, Fix-It Felix Jr., and he basically goes around destroying this apartment building. Fix-It Felix comes around, and you have to basically be playing as Fix-It Felix, restore the building. Yay! But it's kind of the Toy Story syndrome, where all these things are actually alive the moment that you stop looking at, and they all exist within this arcade.
Yeah.
And at this arcade, whenever it closes, they all kind of just like punch out for the day.
Yeah.
This is their job, basically. And when the job's over with, you know, they all clock out, they all go to Tappers, which was an old game. I don't know how many kids actually know what Tappers is, but yeah, it was an old game where you basically play as a bartender, just sending drinks up and down. It's that thing that you do at the very beginning of Fallout 76 that all of us got real bored with and was like, let me just get outside the freaking building. So yeah, it's a fun concept.
Yeah.
I love this idea of arcade characters all existing together. And also, as a big video game nut, I love all the little references they had here. Like, I freaking love that Ryu, Ken, and M. Bison from Street Fighter all have the voice actors that they have from the actual games voicing them in this. It was so weird to me to think, oh my god, we have Ryu and M. Bison in a Disney film. Like, the moment when M. Bison goes, "You're not going turbo, are you?" I was like, that's so weird. That's the actual M. Bison guy from the games saying these lines about these Disney characters. It must kind of been like the first time that Kingdom Hearts came out for a lot of people. I was like, that's so weird that Cloud Strife is talking to Goofy right now. It was a similar experience for me. So, yeah, basically, Ralph is in a support group for villains, and he is sick of being a bad guy.
Yeah, like, he basically just wants respect.
He's been doing this for 30 years, and for 30 years, everybody's been booing him and throwing him off the top of a building, and that's it. And he gets back home and he finds out that they're celebrating the 30th anniversary of Felix Jr., and they didn't invite him to the party, even though he's kind of a big deal. They even invited Pac-Man, that pelt-munching, I can't remember exactly what he said, but...
Like, dot-munching cherry chaser.
That was it, yeah. Dot-munching cherry chaser, which was great. I also, the moment that we were watching this and that came up, it gave me those flashbacks of when Pac-Man was announced for Smash Brothers on the Wii U, because that was the gif everyone was putting in there. They invited Pac-Man? I love that. So they basically tell him, listen, heroes get medals. You're never going to get a medal because you're not a hero. So he decides to go out into the other video games at the arcade to find a game where he can get a medal. So he goes to this game called Call of Duty. Not Call of Duty.
It's Heroes Duty, which is obviously a parody of Call of Duty. The title is, yes, at least.
The title is. The game itself is way more Halo-ish, I'd say.
Like, it's basically like those shooter games that you see at arcades.
So. Or at the movie theaters, yes, is where most of us see them these days. Yes. So he goes into this game, he gets a medal, but then he ends up getting blasted into a completely different game where he loses the medal, and it's called Sugar Rush. Which I keep wondering if that name was supposed to be a reference to Candy Crush. Because it just feels like Rush, Crush, like...
Well, you never heard of the phrase Sugar Rush before?
I know what Sugar Rush is, but I'm wondering if that's why they decided to call it that, is to be like Candy Crush-ish. I don't know. Maybe I'm comparing this too much to the Emoji Movie. Which nothing should ever be compared to the Emoji Movie. So he goes in there, he ends up meeting this girl, Vanellope von Schweet, and she is not actually part of the game, but she wants to be part of the game.
Yeah, she's a glitch.
She's a glitch, yeah. She keeps, like, teleporting all around, and, like, her speech will get all jumbled up.
Like she'll get pixelated.
Yeah, she gets pixelated. Exactly, that's what
Like, she even says, I have pixelexia.
Yeah, so that was a cute joke. So he ends up kind of, like, feeling for her because he's been in that situation where she's been, where everyone doesn't want her in there. Everyone's telling her that she doesn't belong. So he decides to help her because also if she wins, then he gets his medal back. And throughout the course of this adventure, they end up developing this bond with each other, and it all leads up to the big climactic race at the end. I won't go into too many more details from there, but I kind of feel like this is one of those where it's okay to spoil some stuff. Because
yeah, I mean, it's like...
I think most people have seen Wreck-It Ralph.
Yeah, most do.
Yeah, it's like, we spoiled a lot of stuff from Creed yesterday, but I still tried to keep some stuff secret, because I was like, yeah, you know what, I don't know if everyone has seen Creed yet, but I think with Disney films, once it's gotten to like the 3-year point, anybody who was going to see it has seen it. If you were interested in seeing it, you have seen it. Let's go ahead and talk about a lot of the positives in here, and one thing that I have to point out is the voice cast in here is delightful. I have always said that one of the biggest differences between Disney and DreamWorks is that DreamWorks gets the most famous cast, Disney gets the right cast. Yeah. Disney will get a bunch of actors who have like nothing going for them, no one's ever even heard of them, or they're like weird indie guys who no one's talking about, but they'll get them because they are the exact right people to put on this movie.
Yeah, it's like, it always like really irked me when like movies, and animated movies would just get like celebrity voices and just use that to like lure people into seeing the movie, and it's like, no, you need to, like, bring the character to life. It's not about the celebrity, it's about the character that they're voicing.
That's one of the reasons why I always say that DreamWorks is real guilty of that, because they constantly will just go, I don't know, whoever's big right now. In fact, DreamWorks' best film is How to Train Your Dragon, and that's the only one where they're like, all these people are unknowns. No one knows who any of these people are.
And like another reason why is because sometimes celebrity actors don't know how to voice act.
It's a very different thing.
It is.
It is totally apples and oranges on this.
Yeah.
Yeah, just because you can do one does not mean you can do the other one in there. And one of the great things is that I noticed again, I think it's awesome that a lot of the voice actors in here, they are not actual, like, live action actors. Like, I dig that a lot of the people voicing the cartoon characters are, you know, the video game characters are the actual video game actors. But even like Maurice LaMarche, a veteran cartoon voice actor, he has a small role in here. So I think it's great that they decided when it was best to get a voice actor, get the voice actor. But yeah, John C. Reilly, almost forgot his name. John C. Reilly as Wreck-It Ralph. Man, that is perfect casting right there. But also, I can't remember his name, but Kenneth the Page, which sadly that's what he'll always be known as to me. Kenneth the Page from 30 Rock as Fix-It Felix. The guy's amazing in that role. Jane Lynch as, what was her name?
Calhoun?
Calhoun, yeah, she was perfect for that. Sarah Silverman, I feel like she might be like maybe the biggest actress in it. John C. Reilly is probably bigger than her, but he's bigger for like indie crowds.
Yeah, like she's more well known in
the mainstream.
The mainstream, that's right.
Exactly. But to me, the best one, Alan freaking Tudyk as King Candy.
Oh, I know, right?
Man, that guy, who knew he could do voices? I mean, I know he has done like a lot of voice acting, and a lot of those times he would put on a character, but you never realize that's Alan Tudyk, because whenever he wants to do a character, he is so talented with his voice acting, you never realize that's him. Like, I was expecting it to be revealed that that was, like, Dan Castellaneta or somebody, like, somebody who is, like, a 30-year-long voice acting veteran who does nothing but old characters. I'm very tired, again. But the character that he comes up with for King Candy, I know that's based on an old, like, vaudeville-style actor.
Yeah, like the Mad Hatter from Disney's Alice in Wonderland.
Exactly. That's, the actual actor who played that guy.
Yes.
I cannot remember his actual name.
Edwin or something like that?
Something like that. I think that was it. That actually might be it. But yeah, it's a perfect, like, parody of that, but not, like, dead set, like, it's totally just that guy. Like, it's still got enough of his own thing going on in there.
Yeah, like, it's more like a tribute or something.
Very much so, yes, I would totally say that. Also, you know what, we're just going to go into full-on spoilers. Because, again, I think most people have seen this, but one thing that I have to give this movie when talking about King Candy is that I and many, many other people, I think everyone has caught on to this by now, many people have criticized Disney for the fact that over the past, 15 years at this point, all the villains in their movies are surprise villains. They're always the guy who's like, well, I thought they were on my side, but they're not. They're secretly a villain. Like, it's been going on for a long ass time. Like, Tangled, I think, is the only film I can think of in their past, 15 years where it's like, nope, that's the villain right there. Like, that is it. This guy, it is another twist reveal of the villain, but no, you know he's a villain from the start. You just don't know what villain he is.
Yeah, you just don't know his motive.
Yeah, so it's like, okay, that's actually a pretty good way to still do the villain twist, but it's still not like, oh wow, this guy's being nice to me. I wonder what's gonna happen with him. Of course, the big twist that we're talking about is it's revealed that King Candy is Turbo. Turbo was this popular game there at the arcade, but then it got replaced by another game. So the character of Turbo thought, well, I don't want to be in this game anymore. I want to be in the popular game. So he left, went into the other popular game, caused the entire thing to crash. So it caused both of their arcades to become broken, so they had to both be destroyed. So it basically destroyed both of their worlds.
And, that's where the term going turbo comes from.
Yeah, throughout this entire movie, anytime that they think that Ralph is leaving his game to go to another game, they're like, are you going turbo? So I like that they actually take a decent amount of time explaining that, because they took so long that I was actually like, oh, is that just like a term that I don't know? Like, is that
just like a little term in their little video game world that us humans do not understand?
Or I thought, was that like a video game term that I just don't know? Because I play a lot of video games, but there still might be some lingo that I don't know. I was actually kind of curious about that. Like, they talked about so naturally in there that I actually kind of was like, getting involved in this. It was like, yeah, going turbo, right? Yeah, we all know what that is. I totally am hip-hitting with the kids. But yeah, so everybody, when they're worried that Ralph is leaving his game to go to someone else's game, they say, are you going turbo? But yeah, at the end it's revealed that he's actually turbo. But I remember when that reveal happened in the movie, I was legitimately shocked.
Oh.
Like, yeah, I remember, yeah, I just did not see that coming at all. I was actually surprised by that.
Yeah, because you assumed that, like, Turbo, like, disappeared along with the games that he corrupted. So.
Which, that's the thing. This time, watching it and knowing that he was Turbo, they don't explain at all how Turbo survives and how he gets into this game. This, like, way more modern game that came long after the 2 games he was in was destroyed. Like, was he just, like, hanging out in the circuit breaker? Like, was he just, like, Phantom of the Opera-ing the entire arcade for,
like he years? Was just, like, hanging out in, like, the power cords as the little train goes by with the characters on them.
Exactly. Just, like, hiding out there, yeah. It's like, what exactly happened to this guy?
Although considering, like, the Power Surge is based off of, Grand Central Station, and there tend to be quite a few homeless people around.
I did enjoy that all of, like, the video games that had been, destroyed.
Like
Qbert.
Yeah,
unplugged, yeah, like Qbert was there just, like, as a homeless guy, basically. It's like, oh, man, poor Qbert. Yeah. Which the jokes with Qbert in here are pretty darn good. I really enjoyed those. But yeah, watching it the second time, knowing the twist was coming, I was like, how the hell did he survive that? And where has he been all this time? How did he end up getting into this game? Because this game definitely came years after his other games.
Yeah, and it's like, did he try and, like, get into any other racing games? Like, did he try and mess up with Mario Kart or something? Or, like...
Well, that's one of the other weird things that I was like, it's a nitpick. It is a total nitpick of mine. But it is like you see Sonic and Eggman and Bowser in there. I'm just like, none of those guys have ever been in arcade games.
Well, it's been a while since I've been to an arcade, so who knows? Maybe they do have, like, arcade consoles for Sonic now.
I don't think so. I think every arcade game that comes out these days is either a fighting game or, like, a giant drum game or a dancing game these days. I don't know. Maybe they turned Sonic into an arcade machine, but I don't know. Like,
maybe they turn him into a pachinko machine.
A pachinko machine? He's not owned by Konami.
I know, but still.
That man, if in the sequel they make some kind of a joke about Konami and pachinko machines, instant 10. Instant 10 out of 10. If they get Ralph, like, stuck in the PT hall, just going through door after door after door, man,
And you're just like, I gotta get out of here, and just smashes the wall and gets out of the game.
He runs past Norman Reedus. Yeah, that'd be great. Oh my god, I want to see that. That'd be so good. They're not gonna do that. It'd be great if there was, like, a reference, but still, like, I want, like, a pachinko machine to be, like, in there and, like, no one plays it. And they're just like, why do they think this would be popular? Solid Snake is there, is like, I don't know what happened to my game. Why am I even here? Anyway, I told you guys I'd play way too many video games. So yeah, I did still really enjoy that twist, but it is just kind of weird. It, like, leaves a huge unanswered question in there for me now. But let's talk about Vanellope von Schweet, because I think everybody is in either the love her or hate her category. And I really liked her the first time I watched this, but the second time around, I don't know, she didn't have quite the charm.
Yeah, I kind of felt that way too.
Interesting, okay.
Yeah, but it's like...
I thought I was going to have to fight you on this one.
No,
okay, cool.
But, like, at the same time, it's like, as the movie progressed, I started to warm up to her. And I think, like, maybe the reason why she's kind of a brat is because she's a social outcast, so...
Yeah, I mean, it's not like she doesn't have a very dramatic backstory or anything. But every now and again, she comes off a little too radical to me, I guess is a way of putting it. Like, she's got too much attitude in there.
I guess, but, like, at the same time, it's a racing game.
I get it. I mean, everybody in that world kind of has an attitude. I understand that. So, yeah, oh, man, I do still like her. I want to make that clear. I do still like her. But again, this time around, she was wearing on me a little bit at times, whereas in the first movie, I actually kind of enjoyed her all throughout it. Now, one thing that I did have a problem with in the first movie, that this time around became a huge problem for me, is I remember kind of being a little disappointed in the first movie. The first time that I saw the movie, when he gets into Sugar Rush. And he's just there for the rest of the movie?
Yeah, and actually, I remember, in Japan, they renamed the movie Wreck-It Ralph to Sugar Rush because...
Interesting.
Because the movie took place throughout in that game throughout most of the time,
Even the theme song that they have for Sugar Rush is, J-pop. Mm-hmm. So that's actually kind of cool. I didn't know that. But, in all honesty, if they had called this Sugar Rush... if they had, or even just Wreck-It Ralph in Sugar Rush, called it merged the names together. I think I might actually have not had any real problem with it.
Maybe it's weird because Wreck-It Ralph is the main character, but but Sugar Rush is the main setting, and it's so. If I call it Sugar Rush, I'd be but
when
Ralph
are we gonna get to the fireworks?
If it's called Sugar Rush, it's so why is Ralph in there? And if it's called So, I don't know. I get it, but it's also kind of frustrating.
Exactly. If you had called it Sugar Rush, I probably would have been there I like Ralph and I like all this stuff, but this is not the movie that I was being sold.
Yeah.
But because it's called Wreck-It Ralph, as soon as they get to Sugar Rush, I'm like, this is not the movie I was being sold. It's a very weird thing. I kind of feel like if he had gone to Sugar Rush, but, he still had a reason to have to, go to another game and then come back to Sugar Rush or something, in order to build her car. He was just well, you're gonna need someone with speed.
Or
hold on a second, and then he goes and gets someone from another game.
Yeah, either that or instead of just going to Hero's Duty, he goes straight to Sugar Rush to get a medal or something. But that's not.
Then I think I would have had even more problems with that because then you're cutting down even more on the whole video game their shared video game.
Yeah, that's
stuff.
true.
Yeah, my whole thing is yeah, we kind of need to see him go to other places. At the in the end credits of this, which the end credits of this game. Oh, sorry, this game. God damn.
Keep calling it a game.
Hey, that's a sign that was a success. But in the end credits of this movie, I got it right that time. It shows him and Vanellope going into all these different games, actual games. They go to a level in Sonic. They go and they beat up the car in Street Fighter. And I kept looking at that. And it's that's kind of what I was wanting this movie to be.
I was wondering if they wanted him to, go into other games, but because of, copyright issues?
I'm wondering that, too, because I know that they couldn't actually have Mario in here because of copyright stuff. They were able to use Bowser, interestingly enough.
He didn't really talk that much, though.
But they still were able to use him in here.
Yeah, and I think Luigi was, in the background at Tapper's or something. I'm not entirely sure.
Interesting. Huh.
But it's
Tapper was just completely stolen from Mario, his design, so maybe it was Tapper's brother back there.
It's I heard that Mario might be in the sequel, though.
I remember that when they first announced Wreck-It Ralph was getting a sequel, they said that Mario would actually play a pretty big role in there, and I was no. Because even though it would be cool if Mario appeared in the next film, I don't want the film to just be, hey, this video game character, hey, that video game character. I say that I wish that this film had been more of him going into different video games. I don't actually need him to go into, Sonic. I don't actually need him to go into Street Fighter. If he had stopped in one of these places for, a little bit, that'd be fine.
So, a montage, basically, of him going...
Well, I mean, come up with a different game. They can, Hero's Duty is, it's inspired by other games, but it's not an actual established game. Sugar Rush might be based on other games, but it's not an established game. You can come up with a third or fourth game in there that is inspired by something else. That's one of the things that I dug about Wreck-It Ralph is that you can look at, about Fix-It Felix Jr. is that you can look at that and go, that's totally just Donkey Kong. And then, with Sugar Rush, you can look at that and go, that's any number of these driving games. Or you can look at Hero's Duty and go, that's Halo in there. I would have dug it if we had gotten, maybe a few more of those in there. Like I said, give us, a reason why Ralph still has to leave and come back. Not, constantly, but, they play a mini game to build her car. Mm-hmm. I think that an excellent opportunity would have been for him to go, well, there's nothing here that we can build your car with that could possibly win. But...
I would agree with you on that, except Vanellope, because she was a glitch, she can't leave her game.
So it would have to be, like I'm saying, make it like a montage where you see Ralph, sneak into a place, then he brings the thing back, and then she, starts building it together, and then clip of him here, brings the thing. I'm talking about, quick, 5 minutes, little thing. Mm-hmm. Maybe not even that, 5 minutes is long. But like just like 2-3 minutes of just like boop, 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 just to try and like remind us this is kind of what this movie's about, and this is a thing that they can do, and yeah. But again, at this point, I'm now kind of just pitching the movie that I wanted to see rather than judging the movie that we got. And judging the movie that we got, I still have problems with Sugar Rush, though, because there came a moment in Sugar Rush in which they fall into the Nestle Quick Pit, and they have to get out by grabbing Laffy Taffy. And I looked at that, and I was like, it feels like someone had a script for a Candyland movie. And it got thrown out, but they still had some jokes that could work in there. So they took those jokes from there and put them in here. Like, there's a lot of jokes in Sugar Rush that do not feel like they kind of belong in a movie that's about video games. Mm-hmm. Because there's so many just candy puns, one after another in there. There's so many jokes about candy in there. And some of them are pretty good. Like, I dug the Oreo guards that just chanted, Oreo, Oreo. Like, that's a great joke in there for anybody who gets the reference. But there's that one, and then there's like 5 other visual gags about candy, and then there's 10 candy puns thrown in there. And yeah, it no longer feels like a movie about video game characters. It feels like a movie about Candyland. And that, to me, is my big problem with the male portion of this film, in all honesty. I don't know. Maybe you feel differently about that.
Like, the thing is, like, I just really enjoyed the visuals so much.
Visuals, yeah, absolutely. I understand that, yeah.
And I'm a sucker for puns, so...
We're getting a divorce. No, I'm kidding. If that's your biggest fault, I'm actually doing pretty well as a husband. To me, that's just a problem that I had when we watched the first time, and it actually, again, stuck out even more to me the second time watching this. I do have problems with how much time was spent in Candyland. I get why they... Sorry, that wasn't even intentional. I do understand why they had to be stuck there with Vanellope not being able to leave, and that is, like, a great thing that they threw in there. To like raise the stakes, to keep her so that when we get to the big climax at the end, it does add like a lot of tension in there. In fact, it's actually pretty darn dark. Mm-hmm. When you like see them imagining like the world being destroyed, but her unable to escape it. That is incredibly, incredibly dark. So I understand why she can't leave, but you know, something else, like maybe have like Fix-It Felix and Calhoun, when they're looking for them, they end up, rather than having the whole sequence where they get trapped in the Nestle Quick Pit and they have to grab onto the Laffy Taffies, cut all that out and have it be that they're just searching for him in other games, so you just like keep cutting back to them in like a different game.
Well, once again, like they knew where he was because like the security guard.
But what I'm saying is, take out the security guard telling them that that he knows where they went. And like they just have to like take a guess at it, so that way we could get in there like some more of the video game exploration stuff, which I feel is like a part of this film that they did kind of forget about a little bit in there. Again, like you said, there is a reason why they know where he is. I'm saying just get rid of that reason. You don't need that reason in there. Take out that reason and then just give us like, instead of them being stuck in the Nestle Quick Pit and all that stuff, give us like, 2 scenes of them like, oh, could he be in this place? And then they explore a little bit, and now you've got Fix-It Felix and this military, like this Mario and military style character in this game over here. Maybe they go over to the crane game and just see what weird stuff exists over in that place. They go into Street Fighter and they have health bars up there.
Well, also there was Qbert. He was the one who saw Wreck-It Ralph go into Hero's Duty, and he was the reason why...
Oh, yeah, all right. So there is another reason there. All right.
Yeah, so there are a lot... They actually do have good reasons for their bad choices, unfortunately.
I guess what I'm just trying to say... I don't want this to sound like I'm just coming in here and just pitching like, this is what I wanted to see them do in the movie. I'm just trying to come up with ways that they could have fit more video game stuff in here, because I feel like that's what this movie is kind of sold on, and I feel like they kind of like just stopped doing it after a point, and I felt like they needed more of it in there. So yeah, it's not like I'm coming in here and just going like, this is exactly what I wanted to see them do in this movie. I'm just trying to think of like more ways to get what I felt the main premise of the film was in here. Yeah, that was the stuff that I enjoy the most about this movie, and yeah, they kind of just stopped doing it. But as for what we actually got in Sugar Rush, the race at the end I think is pretty good. As I said, King Candy is great in there. I'm kind of shocked they didn't get Stephen Wright to voice the Sour Ball, but whatever. Still good. Although that Sour Ball, there was this video game on the Sega Genesis when I was a kid of like this little green guy with like little arms that were made up of other green circles that just came off of it. It was like some like robot guy. He looked so like that guy without the body armor. Like if you just took the head of that guy and the arms of that guy. And man, I couldn't stop thinking about that. That's in no way a critique or like, commentary on this movie. I just had to get that out of my head to see if anybody else like knows what I'm talking about. Because I just kept looking at him the entire time. I was like, he looks exactly like this thing. But at the end of the film, I think that's probably like the strongest part of this entire movie. When Ralph, I'd say actually starting at the moment when Ralph has to destroy the car. Because King Candy is able to convince him that if Vanellope ends up getting into the game and they see her glitching in there, they will destroy the entire game because they think that the game is broken. That's actually a legitimately good point for him to bring up to like convince Ralph. Like it's not like, oh, I thought I could trust you, but King Candy over there said this thing and now I feel betrayed by you. It's like, no, King Candy is actually playing on how much Ralph actually cares about this kid. And you, the audience, can kind of understand what Ralph is. Like, she would die if she got into the game, no matter how much she wanted it. And it is actually a really emotional moment. And I absolutely love that scene of Ralph looking at his own hands before he destroys the car. Because he never wanted to be a villain. He didn't want to be that guy who just destroyed everything. And in that moment, it's like him just looking at himself and just like, this is what I am. I can't escape this. I have to be the monster. And it is such a heartbreaking moment in there.
I remember the first time you watched that, and you actually did not like that scene because it was just so predictable.
Oh, no, I think that was one of the other guys on the show.
Was it?
Yeah,
oh.
There was another, because we used to do another review show long ago, and there was a guy on there who just constantly would hate everything. It's one of the reasons why we had to stop doing that show, is because we did the show with like 5 other people, and like one of them was good. Mike, you were a good guy. We don't like you, Mike. But everyone else on there just hated everything. It was the most pretentious, snobbish group of people we could have possibly done a show with. And for 2 people who just enjoy being positive and having fun as much as we do, it was so draining. I think that I said that I didn't like that there was the all hope is lost. Like, I didn't like the inevitable, the 2 friends are forced to break up moment. Like, I do remember saying that. I did hate that we had to get that in this movie because that was predictable. But the moment of him, like, actually looking at his own hands there and, like, the reasoning for why they ended up, like, breaking up, that I actually think was real successful. I do think that when I first saw this, I did have problems with the fact that we did get the predictable, like, oh, the friends are going to, like, turn on each other now moment. But, yeah, it's an emotional moment. I still remember loving that the first time that I saw this. I still remember loving that you can totally feel for Ralph in that moment. And, again, just that shot of him looking at his hands is so powerful. But even more powerful and shockingly adult is when Ralph goes back and everyone's gone because they realize that the game's going to get shut down. And what was his name? Gene or Glenn?
Yeah,
Gene, yeah. And Gene's just there. Which, by the way, I love the way that all of the people in Fix-It Felix are animated.
Yes.
That is fantastic. I love it when they go back and Gene is there just like making himself like a martini. Yeah. And he has just an exchange with Ralph that it's not like there's a swear word. It's not like they're talking about like adult material. but such an adult conversation, it feels weird being in a Disney film. Not saying that you can't cover serious stuff in Disney films. There's tons of Disney films that cover very serious material. But typically when they do, they still kind of talk about in like an all ages way. The way that they discuss it, it's like, this is how adults over like 3 drinks would have a very depressing conversation about possibly being the end of their own lives. It was just really stunning to me that they went like that dark with that. Also, I love the sight of the out of order sign on the game. Because when Ralph is looking at it, it looks like just an apocalyptic sun.
No, I mean, like, I remember, like, when Felix was trying to find Ralph and everything, and suddenly you just see this red light coming up over him, and he just looks over his shoulder, and you just see the out of order sign, and it's, like, pretty much like, you know, fire raining from hell, from the skies in a way. Like,
how has no one made that? Like, I've seen so many Attack on Titan parody shirts. How has no one made the Fix It Felix staring up at the out of order sign coming over the? Anyway, maybe that might not sell at all. Maybe no one would actually want that, but I think it would be adorable.
I think maybe Ralph would be a better Titan though.
That actually would. But yeah, it is like the apocalypse. It is like seeing the sun about to implode. Yeah, it is gorgeously done. But to me, the high point of like the emotions in this, and I remember fighting back tears the first time we saw this. And the second time, even knowing it was coming, I still started getting choked up at this. Like, I still had to fight back, like just the wave of emotions flying out of me. It's when Ralph goes up there to try and destroy the Diet Coke Mountain, which, again, I get it. I get it's all a setup for the end and how it ties into the bugs and you're trying to create the beacon. I understand all that. But man, when they're talking like, get to Diet Coke Mountain. Oh, there's Mentos up there. I was like, oh my God, how much did Mentos pay you for this? And it's just...
How much did Nesquik pay you?
Yeah, those are the ones that feel like real product placements. Like, this actually feels like it ties into the plot. So maybe they had to fight to get Mentos in there. But like the other ones, they're like, nah, brother, you got a nice little chunk of change from Nestle on that one. But with this one, I remember when they first announced like, oh, the Mentos and the Diet Coke and all that. I was like, we get it. You're in a candy place. I understand this. So that was a little painful at first, but it comes back around.
Yes.
I gotta give him that. But when he goes back up there to wreck it, first off, it's the moment in which he kind of realizes that he can be a wrecker for good. Like, he can be a bad guy for good reasons. He can do good things no matter what he is. But the moment in which he falls out of the sky and he is just plummeting there and he recites the villain's oath.
Yeah.
Man, I remember when I was in the theater the first time, I felt the tears coming back up in me.
It's like, it reminded me of that scene in Iron Giant. Superman.
Doesn't it? 100%. I had that same thought. But I also love it because it's that moment out there, it's that moment in the film when Ralph finally realizes, like, this is what I am. But he's looking at the medal that Vanellope made for him, and he's okay with it.
Yeah.
And it's so moving that, like, his, like, final act is him not only trying to save, like, the only friend he's ever had, but it's also him, like, finally being okay with who he is. Like, you can tell he's saying that not just because that's what you do when you're in the group, but it's, like, him finally, like, getting it.
Yes.
And, man, it really hit me so hard in that. But I think that that's also one of the great things about this film, is the message in here. Disney, I've noticed over the past couple of years, they've started doing a lot of movies where the big message at the end, it's not even so much like, follow your dreams and you can be anything that you want to be. They've started making far more realistic goals for kids. And,
I mean, there's only, like, so many fairy tales you can redo and...
Well, not even that, but, like, I think that they've kind of realized, like, it's kind of healthy to give kids, like, realistic views on life, but still do it in, like, positive ways.
Yes.
Because the message of this film is that Ralph does not like what he does for a living. He really does not like this job at all. But the end of the movie, the message of it is, hey man, you might not like your job, but everybody out there has to do, like, every job out there has to be done. Like, you might have a really shitty job, but someone's got to do it. Someone has to be that person. But you know what? That doesn't make you a bad person. You can be a good person even if you have a job that you don't like. And you can actually, and as long as like someone out there cares about you and you care about someone else, as long as you got friends there with you, it's okay. Your job, it's not that important. Like if you have a job that you just don't enjoy all that much, as long as you're still happy in life, as long as you're still a good person, as long as you still got friends, as long as you got people that you care about, that's the important stuff. And I was like, that's a really good message to put into a movie. It kind of reminded me of Monsters University, which I know, like, a lot of people like Monsters University, a lot of people shit on it. I actually like that movie, but one of the reasons I like it so much is that it's got a great message at the end of it, which is, hey man, small spoilers for Monsters University, but the message at the end of that film is that, hey man, sometimes because of things completely out of your control, you're not going to be able to have your dream. Sometimes you're just not going to get your dream.
Or sometimes...
But that's okay because you can still do things in that field. You can still do stuff that helps that dream of yours.
Yes.
You can still like be a part of that dream if you can't be the exact thing that you wanted to be. And I think that's incredibly important for people to learn.
Yeah, like sometimes in life you need to take some detours because some paths are not open to you, basically.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, so I love that message in here. Plus, like, the whole thing with Vanellope, like, that is not a subtle metaphor at all of, like, this is supposed to be someone with, like, special needs, for lack of better terms. Because, like, you can't really look at Pixelexia as she has as, like, any one specific thing he's trying to say. But it's very clear, like, no, she is, like, someone who, like, it's either, like, a physical disability, a mental disability, like, that's what it's supposed to be, like, a metaphor for in the real world, because you see all these people, like, making fun of her and making fun of, like, her dreams.
Yeah, and it's like, you can't do this because you're going to ruin it because of how you are and stuff. So.
Yeah, exactly. But then at the end, she's just kind of like, this is part of me. And you know what? I can make this part of me pretty special.
Yeah, it's all about, like, accepting who you are. That's what this movie is about.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a lot of movies out there like that. I honestly think this is one of the better ones that we've ever gotten. I think that nails that incredibly well. Anything else you want to say about the movie?
No, I enjoyed it.
Yeah. So, giving it a score... first time I saw it, like, even though I had the problems, I might have given it, like, a 9 the first time I saw it, but this time around, watching it again, the problems are a little bit more apparent to me, but I still think that the good stuff in here, like, vastly overshadows it. I think that the messages in here are still incredibly important, so I'll give it an 8.
Like, I think my first rating was either, like, a 10 or a 9.5, because I really loved it.
Yeah, you did.
I think it might be a 9, because, yeah, you start to, like, notice things the second time around, but I still enjoy the movie, and especially after watching, like, really long and dark movies, it's nice to have, like, a short, brightly colored movie to watch.
Yeah, we've been on a little bit of a streak recently. So yeah, this was a nice little palate cleanser in there.
Yes.
But yeah, so thank you guys very much for tuning in. Again, sorry that we can't have the Wreck-It Ralph 2 review up just yet, but I swear as soon as this gets fixed, which hopefully will be soon, otherwise we're going to be doing this with like water just like up to here on us. Then, yeah, as soon as everything is fixed in the apartment, we will get back to reviewing regular movies that are brand new and being released. I'm going to have to spend like an entire day at a theater just catching up on stuff. But thank you guys very much for tuning in. Come back next time. Bye.
Bye.